The sky above the colony of Arden shimmered with strange colors that no human had seen before. Thin clouds twisted in patterns like silk ribbons caught in a windstorm, and the twin suns of the system cast a golden glow across the planet's rolling plains. For most of the colonists, it was a peaceful morning. Children ran through the fields chasing small mechanical drones that looked like flying birds, and farmers checked their crops, humming quietly to themselves. But beneath the beauty, a shadow loomed. A shadow so large that even the tallest buildings seemed small in comparison. Far in the distance, on the horizon, a shape moved. It was massive, larger than any war machine the galaxy had ever known. The ground trembled with every step, animals scattered in terror, and birds took to the sky in frantic flocks. This was Crag, the Warbeast. No one had ever controlled it. Not the Alliance fleets, not the psionic tamers, not even the most advanced military minds. Every time someone tried, it crushed their weapons and shattered their technology. Entire planets had fallen to its fury. Its scales were as thick as steel, its claws could tear through the strongest shields, and its roar could paralyze even the bravest soldiers. Colonel Rydar, a veteran of more than 20 interstellar campaigns, stood on the balcony of the command center, his face grim. He watched the enormous figure approach Arden, his hands gripping the railing tightly. "Sir," said Lieutenant Taven, his voice trembling, "it's coming faster than the report said. Shields might not hold." Ryder said nothing. He had learned a long time ago that words did not stop monsters. He only nodded toward the holographic display, showing the creature's path of destruction across nearby colonies. Smoke plumes, crumbled buildings, overturned vehicles, all marked its passing. And now it was headed straight for Arden. Meanwhile, far from the military center in a small village on the edge of the plains, a little girl named Lyra ran barefoot through the tall grass. She had copper-colored hair tied in a messy braid, and her eyes sparkled with curiosity. Unlike the adults, she did not fear the Warbeast. In fact, she had been watching it in secret for weeks. She noticed patterns that no one else seemed to see. Crag did not move randomly. It seemed to respond to certain sounds, certain motions. Sometimes it paused as if considering something, and then it moved with even greater force. Lyra had begun to think of it not just as a monster, but as a creature that could be understood, if only someone tried. Her mother called out from the house, "Lyra, come inside! The alarms are on!" Lyra looked toward the horizon, where a faint shadow moved across the golden plains. "I'll be fine," she said softly to herself. "I just want to see." Inside the command center, alarms blared. Red lights flashed across the walls and soldiers ran in all directions. Hollow screens displayed images from drones hovering near the outskirts of the colony. The Warbeast's massive body crushed anything in its path. Buildings collapsed like paper, and vehicles were thrown aside as if they were toys. General Vorek, a tall, imposing figure, stepped into the room. His uniform was decorated with medals, but none of them mattered now. He turned to Colonel Rydar. "This is it, Rydar. Arden will fall within the hour. Our weapons aren't enough. Even the orbital cannons can't pierce its armor. We've lost more than a dozen planets to this creature already." Ryder's eyes followed the distant shadow, moving with terrifying precision. "It's not just strong," he said quietly. "It's smart, and we've underestimated it." Outside, the villagers had begun to panic. Parents grabbed their children, carrying them toward underground shelters. The wind carried the low rumble of the Warbeast's roar, shaking windows and doors. The ground trembled with each step. And yet, in the fields, Lyra walked calmly, her gaze fixed on the approaching giant. Her friend, a small boy named Darrow, ran up to her, panting. "Lyra, come on, we have to hide." "I'm not afraid," Lyra replied. She knelt in the grass, her small hands brushing the tips of the blades. "It's confused. I can feel it. Darrow shook his head. Confused? It's going to destroy everything. Do you even understand what that means? Lyra smiled faintly. I do. It doesn't want to destroy, it just doesn't know how to stop. Meanwhile, Krog had reached the outskirts of the village. Its massive claws dug into the earth, sending clouds of dust and debris into the air. Its eyes glowed with a strange light, intelligent yet wild. Every attempt the colony's defense drones made to stop it ended in failure. Lasers bounced harmlessly off its thick scales, and energy nets melted under its claws. Colonel Ryder activated the last resort weapons, small but powerful electromagnetic pulses meant to disable large creatures temporarily. The pulse hit Crag, but it barely slowed. The Warbeast shook its head, letting out a deafening roar, and continued its march. Buildings near the edge of the village toppled as if made of cardboard. Inside the command center, the tension was unbearable. "We can't hold it," said Lieutenant Taven. "Not here, not anywhere." General Vorek slammed his fist against the table. "We have to try something. We can't let Arden fall." At that moment, Lyra appeared near the command center. Guards tried to stop her, but she slipped past them with a determination that made even adults pause. She stood in the open field, staring up at the massive Warbeast. Its shadow stretched over her like a storm cloud, yet she did not flinch. Ryder noticed her. "What is that child doing? Get her out of there!" he shouted, but no one moved fast enough. Crag paused. Its glowing eyes focused on Lyra. For a moment it seemed to hesitate, as if recognizing something familiar. It tilted its massive head, sniffing the air. Every soldier, every colonist watching from behind barricades, held their breath. Lyra took a deep breath and whispered to herself, "I know you're scared. I'm not." The Warbeast's roar softened, almost imperceptibly. Its massive chest rose and fell, and it looked down at the little girl as if trying to understand. No one had ever seen it hesitate before. Inside the command center, Ryder rubbed his temples. "What is it doing?" General Vorek whispered. "I don't know. I've never seen it act like that." Lyra, with her small voice steady, said one simple word: "Sit." The Warbeast froze. Its glowing eyes blinked. Then, slowly, impossibly, it lowered its massive body to the ground and sat. Dust billowed around it, but its movements were calm and deliberate. The soldiers and villagers could not believe what they were seeing. The unstoppable, terrifying Warbeast had obeyed a single word from a human child. For a moment, silence filled the plains. No alarms, no roars, no tremors, just the giant creature sitting obediently, watching the little girl. Lyra extended her hand slowly, unsure if it would react, but the Warbeast did nothing aggressive. It only watched her, its intelligence clear in the glowing depths of its eyes. Colonel Ryder whispered, It listened. How?" Lyra turned to him, eyes wide but calm. "Because I didn't try to control it. I just spoke to it." The command center erupted in chaos again, but this time it was a different kind. Scientists and strategists scrambled to record every detail, trying to understand how this small human child had achieved what entire fleets and armies could not. Every alien commander who witnessed the scene felt a pang of envy and disbelief. And Lyra? She just smiled. She understood something profound, that humans had a gift no one else did, the ability to communicate, to understand, and to be brave enough to reach out when everyone else ran from fear. Crag stayed seated, its massive form calm and strangely gentle. For the first time it seemed as though the Warbeast's rage had been soothed, not by force but by trust. And in that moment the galaxy began to see humans in a new light. Not as weapons, not as soldiers, not as conquerors, but as something far more powerful, empathic, brave, and utterly unpredictable. The morning sky over Arden was still golden, But now it held a new promise. A promise that even the most unstoppable force could be faced, not with fear, but with understanding. And for Lyra, it was just the beginning. After the Warbeast, Krog sat down on the golden plains of Arden. The world seemed to hold its breath. Dust floated gently in the air, and the sun's light glinted off the creature's massive scales, giving it an almost calm, peaceful look, something no human had ever imagined. Soldiers and colonists stared in awe, unsure what to do next. Some whispered prayers, some snapped pictures, and some simply stood frozen, afraid to move. Lyra, the small girl who had spoken the word, crouched low and studied Crag carefully. She could feel the creature's presence, not as a threat, but as a curious mind. It was as if Crag were asking silently, "Who are you?" Colonel Ryder approached cautiously, his boots crunching on the dry earth. "Child," he called softly, careful not to startle the beast. "Step back. You're in danger." "I'm not afraid," Lyra replied calmly. Her voice was soft but filled with certainty. "It doesn't want to hurt me." The colonel frowned. "No one knows what this creature is capable of. Entire planets have fallen before it." "I know," Lyra said, "but it listens to me. I can help it." Ryder exchanged a glance with General Vorek, who had arrived moments earlier. Vorek's face was tight with worry, but behind the concern, there was also wonder. No human had ever controlled a warbeast, and yet here was a small child standing calmly in front of one. "Child," Vorek said carefully, "we don't understand. How are you doing this?" "I'm not doing it," Lyra said simply. "I'm just talking to it. That's all." Crag's glowing eyes flickered toward her again. The creature tilted its massive head slightly, as if trying to listen. Lyra took a deep breath and began to speak, slowly, in her soft, steady voice. "Hello. My name is Lyra. I'm not going to hurt you. I don't want to fight." The warbeast remained still, but the intensity in its gaze softened. For the first time, soldiers and scientists realized something incredible. Crag might be intelligent. It might understand more than they had ever imagined. Dr. Solara, a scientist specializing in alien behavior, whispered to a colleague, "It's reacting, not as an animal, but as a sentient being. It knows we've tried to control it with force, and now it's listening instead." Meanwhile, Lyra noticed that Crag's massive tail was twitching slightly. It seemed nervous, unsure of how to respond. She extended a small hand toward it, careful not to make sudden movements. "It's okay," she said. "You don't have to be afraid." The warbeast shifted its enormous weight slightly, leaning its head closer to her. Its hot breath ruffled Lyra's hair, but she did not move. She reached out, her small hand resting gently on one of Crag's rough scales. To everyone's amazement, the creature did not react aggressively. Instead, it lowered its massive head closer, as if acknowledging her touch. The command center was filled with whispers. Soldiers pointed their communicators toward the scene, sending live reports to distant fleets and nearby colonies. Everyone wanted to know how a single human child had achieved what the greatest commanders and scientists could not. Dr. Solara spoke into her recorder, her voice trembling with excitement. "We are witnessing something unprecedented. This child is communicating with Krog, not through force, but through calm, clear understanding. It's responding to her, as if it recognizes her intentions." General Vorek turned to Colonel Ryder. "Prepare a containment team," he said, though his voice was uncertain. "But no weapons. Let's see if we can learn from this child before we do anything else." Ryder nodded, though his eyes stayed on Crag. The warbeast's breathing created small tremors in the ground, and every step it had taken in the past had left devastation. But now, sitting there, it seemed almost gentle. Lyra's voice grew steadier as she spoke again. "Do you want to go home?" she asked softly. "I know it's confusing. You don't want to fight, but you don't know how to stop. I can help you." The creature's massive head tilted. It blinked slowly, and for the first time, a sound came from it that was not a roar. A low rumble, almost like a growl of curiosity, vibrated through the ground. Lyra smiled. "Yes, I understand." Dr. Solara leaned closer to her communicator. "It's almost like it can think, like it's trying to understand the meaning of her words." Over the next hour, Lyra continued to speak with Krog. She explained the colony, the people, and the idea of safety. She told the Warbeast that it did not need to destroy to be strong. Slowly, she began to teach it to respond to simple commands. She used words like sit, stay, and come, repeating them softly and patiently. Each time, Krog reacted with surprising intelligence, following her instructions, though with caution. Colonel Ryder and General Vorek watched, stunned. "It's obeying her," Ryder muttered. "It's learning." For the first time in history, a war beast known across the galaxy as unstoppable had been tamed by a single human child. And in that moment, humanity's unique gift, empathy, courage, and the ability to communicate with life that no one else could reach, became clear to everyone who had witnessed it. The galaxy would never see humans the same way again. The sun rose over Arden, painting the plains in soft gold and pink. The morning air was calm, almost serene, but the memory of Krog's arrival was still fresh in everyone's minds. The once feared war beast had become a symbol of hope rather than terror, and the colony's residents could barely believe the change. Lyra walked alongside Krog, her small hand resting gently on its rough, massive scales. The creature had grown calmer each day, learning to respond to her words, her tone, and even her gestures. It no longer destroyed what it approached. Instead, it followed her lead with surprising patience and intelligence. Colonel Ryder and General Vorek observed from a distance. Their faces were a mixture of awe and disbelief. "I've seen a lot in my life," Ryder muttered, "but nothing like this. A child, just a child, has done what entire fleets couldn't." Vorek nodded, his eyes fixed on Lyra and Krag. "Not only that," he said quietly, "she's shown something else. She's shown the galaxy that humans are different, that our strength is not only in our weapons but in our courage and understanding." The colony's scientists, led by Dr. Solara, continued to study Krag. They measured its responses, recorded its movements, and noted every subtle change in behavior. Yet, no amount of equipment could explain what Lyra already knew. Krag was intelligent, capable of emotions, and able to understand human words in ways technology could not interpret. Lyra, meanwhile, was teaching Krag more than just commands. She showed it how to interact with the villagers without fear. Children began to play near the creature under her supervision, learning that it could be gentle and even protective. Adults began to approach cautiously, offering it food and water. Slowly, Krog became part of the community. The alien commanders who had watched from afar were stunned. They had always relied on brute force, technology, or telepathy to control powerful creatures. None of it had worked with Krag. But one small human child, speaking calmly and with understanding, had achieved what they could not. Word of Lyra's success spread across the galaxy. Messages reached distant colonies, trade hubs, and even military fleets. Reports described the human child who tamed the untamable warbeast. Entire civilizations debated the implications. How could empathy and courage succeed where weapons and technology had failed? Some factions were wary. They feared that humans might use such a gift to dominate others, but most were curious, intrigued, and inspired. If a child could tame a war beast, what else could humanity accomplish? The next few days were filled with challenges. Mercenary fleets and alien observers arrived to test Krog. They tried sending machines, loud noises, and even simulated attacks to see if the Warbeast would respond violently. Each time, Krog remained calm, responding only to Lyra's voice. She guided it with patience, teaching it when to sit, stay, or follow. One evening, as the twin moons of Arden rose, Lyra sat beside Krog under the glowing light. The villagers had gathered nearby, watching quietly, amazed at the bond between the girl and the creature. "Yes," Vorik said quietly, "not because of weapons or fear, but because she's human." As the day passed, the news spread across the galaxy. Messages were sent to distant planets and military outposts, telling the story of the human child who had tamed the untamable Warbeast. Scientists and alien commanders debated endlessly. How could a single human child do what fleets of warships could not? How could a small voice and calm patience overcome terror and destruction? Meanwhile, Lyra continued her work. She spent hours with Krag, walking alongside it as it explored the plains. She noticed small details about its behavior, the way it responded to her tone, the way it seemed to understand when she asked it to stop or turn. She learned that Krag was not just a war machine. It was intelligent, with thoughts, emotions, and curiosity. The villagers watched in awe as the once-feared Warbeast became calmer under Lyra's guidance. Children began to approach it cautiously, and soon even adults joined, offering it food and water. Slowly, the giant creature began to form a bond with the humans, but not everyone was happy. Some military leaders feared that Krag could never truly be trusted. They wanted to remove it from Arden, contain it, or even destroy it if necessary. Dr. Solara, however, argued passionately. "We cannot use weapons or force. That is exactly what made it uncontrollable before. Lyra has discovered a new approach. Communication, patience, and understanding. This is how we work with it, not against it." The tension grew as night fell. The twin moons rose in the sky, casting pale light over the plains. Krag lay down, its enormous form creating a shadow that stretched for miles. Lyra sat beside it, her small hand resting on its warm, rough scales. She felt a deep connection, as if they shared thoughts without words. Suddenly, a distant alarm sounded. Drones detected unknown ships approaching from the outer sectors. Lyra looked up, her heart pounding. "They're coming," she said softly. "They'll try to take you away." Colonel Ryder and General Vorik rushed to her side. "We'll protect you," Vorik said firmly. "No one will hurt you or the creature." The alien ships arrived quickly, their weapons glowing ominously. They were mercenary forces, hired by factions who wanted to control Krag for their own purposes. Beams of energy lit up the sky, and the ground shook as they prepared to fire. Lyra stood, holding out her hands. "No!" she shouted. "Stop! You don't understand!" Krag rose to its feet, massive and imposing, but this time it did not attack. It stayed by Lyra's side, listening to her. "Sit," she said firmly, and Krag obeyed, lowering its massive body while keeping its eyes fixed on the approaching ships. The mercenaries hesitated, unsure how to respond. They had been trained to fight anything, but they had never faced a creature that obeyed a child's simple command. Lyra stepped forward bravely. "We don't have to fight," she said. "We can work together. Please, just listen." For a long, tense moment, nothing happened. Then, slowly, the mercenaries lowered their weapons. They did not fully understand, but they could see the bond between the child and the Warbeast, and they could see that aggression would not work here. Dr. Solara recorded every second, her hands shaking with excitement. This is a turning point," she whispered. "Human empathy, human courage. It is more powerful than we ever imagined." As the night wore on, Lyra guided Krag back to a safe area near the colony. She continued to speak to it softly, explaining everything it needed to know. By dawn, the creature was calm, peaceful and attentive. The humans had won its trust, not through weapons, not through fear, but through understanding. "You're safe now," she whispered. "And so are we all." Crag rumbled softly in response, its massive head resting near her. It no longer seemed terrifying, only loyal and intelligent. It had learned the meaning of calm, trust, and understanding, lessons that humans could teach better than anyone else. Colonel Rydar and General Vorek stood a little distance away, watching the scene. "The galaxy will remember this," Rydar said, "not because of battles or victories, but because of a human child who dared to speak, to understand, and to be brave." Vorek nodded. "Yes, and humanity's gift, our gift, is unlike any other. We can reach beyond fear. We can connect where others cannot, and that will change everything." The story of Lyra and Crag spread across the stars. Humans became respected not only for their intelligence and strength, but for their courage, empathy, and unique ability to communicate across species. Peace and cooperation began to grow where once there was only fear. And as Lyra looked at Crag, she knew that this was only the beginning. Together, they would explore new worlds, meet new life, and show the galaxy that understanding and courage could achieve what no weapons ever could. For the first time, the universe saw humans not as conquerors or mere survivors, but as something extraordinary: peacemakers, connectors, and guides. And Crag, once a symbol of fear, now sat loyally beside a human child, proof that even the most unstoppable force could be changed by patience, trust, and a simple word: sit. "You're learning quickly," Lyra said softly. "But you have to understand. Not everyone will understand you. Some people will be afraid. Some will want to use you. You have to stay calm, just like we practiced." Krog tilted its massive head, rumbling softly as if agreeing. It had grown attached to Lyra, and though its size was terrifying, it now held a gentleness that few could imagine. Colonel Ryder approached. "Child, the aliens, the mercenaries, they want to see more. They want to understand how this works. They won't hurt you if you show them." Lyra nodded. "I know. But I don't want them to scare him. They have to see that understanding is stronger than fear." The next day, representatives from various alien species arrived. They watched as Lyra guided Crag through a series of tasks. She spoke to it calmly, using simple words. She showed it how to sit, how to walk beside her, and how to respond to commands without aggression. The aliens were stunned. Dr. Solara took notes rapidly. "It's remarkable," she whispered. "It's not just obedience. It's cooperation. It's learning." One alien commander, a tall being with blue skin and multiple eyes, asked, "How is it possible? We have never seen a creature respond to words in this way." Lyra looked up, her eyes bright. "Because I didn't try to force him. I just spoke. I listened. I understood. And he listened back." The commander's eyes widened. "Humans, your kind, has something unique." "Yes," Lyra said softly. "We can be brave, we can understand, and we can help without hurting." Over the following weeks, Crag became a protector of the colony. Its presence deterred attacks, not because it was violent, but because everyone knew it would obey Lyra's commands. It could carry supplies, clear dangerous terrain, and even assist in rescue missions when storms or accidents struck. The villagers began to rely on it not as a weapon, but as a guardian. Meanwhile, the story of Lyra and Crag spread to distant worlds. Humans began to gain a reputation not only as capable explorers and soldiers, but also as mediators and peacemakers. They had a gift that no other species possessed: the ability to connect, to communicate, and to understand life forms beyond fear and aggression. One day, a fleet of alien diplomats arrived, requesting to meet Lyra and Crag. They wanted to learn how humans had tamed the Warbeast without force. Lyra guided Crag to a large clearing, where the diplomats observed closely. She spoke calmly, explaining her methods and showing how Crag could respond to simple commands. The diplomats were amazed. They realized that humans' success came not from weapons or technology, but from empathy and courage. They began to see humans as a species capable of understanding and resolving conflicts in ways others could not. Back in the colony, Lyra continued to spend time with Krog. She taught it new commands, explained dangers, and even introduced it to other animals in the plains. Slowly, the Warbeast's mind seemed to expand, learning how to coexist peacefully with other life. Colonel Ryder and General Vorek watched, still astonished. "This changes everything," Ryder said quietly. "If humans can do this with a Warbeast, imagine what else they can do in the galaxy." "Yes," Vorek agreed. "It's not just bravery or strength. It's understanding. And we've only just begun to see what that means." The following months brought new challenges. Other Warbeasts, sensing Crag's calm presence, began to approach the colony. At first, villagers feared another wave of destruction, but Lyra, now more confident in her abilities, stepped forward. She spoke to each creature, guiding them as she had guided Krog. Slowly, the other Warbeasts began to respond, sitting, pausing, or following her instructions. The galaxy watched in disbelief. Entire species, once feared as uncontrollable forces, were now learning to cooperate with humans. Colonies that had lived in fear of destruction now had hope. Humans were becoming not just survivors, but teachers, guides, and mediators. Dr. Solara observed with awe. "It's a new era," she said. "Humans are not just strong. They are connectors. They bridge the gap between species, and this child, this little girl, has shown us the way." Lyra, though small and still learning herself, became a symbol of humanity's potential. Her courage, patience, and empathy had tamed a creature no one else could control. And she continued to guide Krog and other Warbeasts, teaching them how to coexist with humans and the galaxy. One evening, as the twin moons rose once more, Lyra sat beside Krog, watching the plains. The wind blew gently across the grass, and the colony below was quiet. She smiled, feeling a deep connection with the creature beside her.